Hey, first one ever. 2021, we are looking back. Rewind hype. Where are they now? 2 years out, 2+ years out, because I missed January's window. So we're going to cover this in February, but don't worry, there'll be another one coming later this month for February's 2-year look back. Where were the most impactful games of 2 years ago on crowdfunding and Kickstarter? Where are they now? Are they all delivered? Spoilers. And how do we feel about them now? Let's take a look 2 years back. Because, yeah, right? How hyped are you still about these games? How hyped are other people still about these games that gave previous hype when they were going? So let's talk. Let's do it. Let's have those deep holes in the hearts and wallets, and let's explore them a little better. There you go. Let's do this. So first up, we're talking about Primal The Awakening. Yes! Still don't have it. I mean, this is probably one of my most anticipated games arriving this year. Because there's probably not going to be a better qualifier for it than that. The production is going to be fine. I'm not worried about getting a product. I don't think there's a whole lot of, concern from that aspect of things. But with this Monster Hunter-esque and a different suiting sort of vibe of having a static monster and you maneuvering around the monster as opposed to, everything else that you're used to in dungeon battling boss, battler type games, right? That's the question. Is it going to hold up? Because the last one that delivered, Aeon Trespass Odyssey, woo, that one delivered. Oathsworn, woo, that one delivered. Monster Hunter World, we're still out on that one as well. But that's going to be the big question. Yeah, and I was a gameplay all-in person, early bird. That's a lot of money. $300. I'm having a hard time right now justifying Andromeda's Edge. That's a whole nother conversation. I'm spending too much on multiverse, but I'm not buying anything at retail, so I guess that's sort of a plus, right? I mean, this was hyped up. This was probably one of the most hyped games of the year prior to launch and at the time of launch, and it looks cool. It sounds cool. Are all these bosses going to be cool? Is there enough asymmetry? Is there going to be enough progression? Is there going to be enough cool leveling up? Because that was the other thing with Aeon Trespass Odyssey that they did a really good job of saying, okay, wow, exploration, wow, depth, wow, replayability, wow, depth of, the cool stuff that you're going to be doing. So let's see. Production update just at the end of January. All of the mold production's done. The good mold, not the bad kind of mold. Then they go down here and nothing has changed. We plan to ship from China within May. So yeah, Chinese New Year may affect that, may not, whatever. And so they're going to close the pledge manager and charge for shipping around May. So expect this game to start making waves in June come July and really maybe hitting full stride July, August. And I think that's probably because you're going to have a few advanced copies that are thrown out there. And then I think you're really going to start seeing it make waves in July-ish, maybe even August. So we'll see, right? We'll see. A game delayed is much better than a bad game delivered on time. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be almost 1.5 years late. So be it. Take that for what you will. Pre-campaign, probably hyping, probably a good 7. Right now, I'll say it's probably about the same. It's probably about the same at this point, and I'm not quite sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So take that for what you will, just because of the plethora of quality from those other games that I just mentioned, right? So there you go. Next up, CMON's Animation Collection. This is the other big one that launched from CMON, and they went with the Teen Titans, they went with Scooby-Doo, and they went with Looney Tunes. And they made some very interesting choices there because, one, pre-painted miniatures. Okay, cool. Like Scooby-Doo painted miniatures. Like, awesome, right? Like, right here. It's sitting right here, the Animation Collection, the Deluxe Edition. Goes for like $200 right now on the secondary market with all those exclusives. And that is the main thing, right? They threw a ton of exclusives when they basically said that this is going to be wide retail. And they're going for retail with these IPs. I mean, you don't buy Teen Titans and Looney Tunes and not go for brand recognition on a store shelf, right? Same thing with Scooby Freakin' Doo, right? My kids love Scooby-Doo, transcending generations like Pokemon. And so if you get something like this, you market the heck out of it and you get more people interested. This is the game. This is the type of IP that has people walk by and go, oh, I know that. Oh, that looks kind of interesting. Oh, I'll take a shot on that, right? And then you throw a bunch of exclusives, and that's not really gonna sit well with people, which is why things like Jaws of the Lion and a few of the other Target games have done really well. Like, Spirit Island did it. Why can't CMON? Anyway, Let's take a look. And I actually didn't back this on the campaign. I actually bought someone else's pledge for the Scooby-Doo edition. Is it the best game ever? No. I mean, I have mixed feelings about it still to this day, and I'm not sure whether or not I'm going to keep it or get rid of it, because I like hard cooperatives. I don't think it's as hard as I would like, and some of the villains aren't as varied as I was like. Now, I gotta give it more time and more percolation, if you will, to throw out the coffee term there, to see whether or not it's going to do that. And so I don't have final judgment on it one way or the other. But if you tell me I bought this for $90 and I can flip it for $250 in a year, like, that's also cash in my pocket that's just sitting on the shelf, especially if it's not getting played, right? So you have to take that into consideration. Here are all the promos. I mean, look at all these. I mean, it's mostly villains. When villains in these games, just like Marvel United, they're the make it or break it. They're the why you play it over and over again. The other problem is when you pull them up in the Board Game Geek here, Scooby-Doo is the highest rated one with 7.4. And that's actually pretty good. Nowadays, 7.4, kind of anything gets in the sevens, like you see like on major channels, they're like, that's 7. No, 7 is really good. 7 is still really good. We are just biased to be wanting things to be perfect, but 7 means that people still really like this game. The problem that you run into, though, is you start getting Teen Titans Go at 6.9, and you also get Looney Tunes Mayhem 7.1 bordering on that 6s, which means that there are more faults with those two as open style skirmish games, especially when the competition with things like Restoration, Summoner Wars, all of those other games that are out there already. And you have to have a top notch if you're going to do that. Like, it's another thing if you do cooperative and it's that, but if you're going to do the head to head, knock them out style, it needs to be not subpar. And that's the fear, I think, with these two. They didn't get quite the touch up or the treatment that they probably should have, which is disappointing. This is one that I wanted to actually back afterwards. So my hype during it was probably like a 5 or a 6. My hype afterwards, because of a big Scooby-Doo cooperative fan, was probably like an 8. That's why I bought somebody else's pledge. But that's really the point, is I don't know yet still, which is a very interesting thing because I could see myself going either way, like I said. So take that for what you will there. Next up, I have no interest in this one right now. Darwin's Journey. This was the largest Euro game funding in 2021, I believe. Worker placement, over £1 million, not just $1 million, especially when the pound was better comparatively to the dollar 2 years ago than it is now. And so this was, not insignificant. This was a massive, thing for a lot of people. And it had 46 stretch goals that were unlocked, and it was by a relatively well-known designer in Mangone and Luciani. And so it was kind of good, right? Again, when you pull up the page, it's not a question of, is this going to be good? It's going to be, how does it stack up to the other ones that we just saw delivered in 2022? How does it stack up to something like Tiletum? How does it stack up to something like Carnegie? Those are the ones that I see, across the board. I know there's one or two others that I'm blanking on right now that people were saying, okay, these are the best of 2022, right? This was a 2021 being eclipsed by others in 2022 already. And now, hopefully in 2023, you're going to have some good news, because they have vessels, they have loaded, and it's going to be, essentially a countdown to when it arrives in port for the whole world. And so, at the end of this month, it says it should be, in the destinations and shipping out. So if this one holds true, or even if it doesn't, frankly speaking, with the way the hotness and the hype and the Board Game Geek rankings work, because they want you to buy new things, they don't care about the old stuff most of the time. Side rant there. You're going to see it pop up. You're going to see it pop up very soon, very shortly, because all the people are going to have it. So hype during it, 3. Hype now, maybe 4 or 5. Again, this is one that, like, I just picked up Resurgence. I just have been trying to trade for a couple other heavier Euros. I played Unconscious Mind, so I'm not opposed to this. But I just don't know. Like, I have Dwellings. I'm looking at Drama's Edge. Like, I just don't need a ton of these, because, again, like, this niche of playing a 2 to 3 hour game of this weight is going to fall few and far between. So, like, Dwellings has to be even a perfect time frame, which it didn't work out last night because we played Wonderland's War instead. Anyway. But that's why it's out there, and that's what you're going to see. So your addresses are closed and locked if you want to, can't. There you go. Next up, Bezier. This is probably good timing, because Bezier is launching a new crowdfunding campaign this week of Castles of the Mad King Ludwig. So hype overlap there, folks. 2 years ago, we did the Castles of the Mad King Ludwig, the Collector's Edition, right? The Collector's Edition. it raised $1.5 million. That's really impressive. They went with, deluxeified everything, collector's edition, all new artwork, double-sided, recessed boards, game storage, existing expansions, new expansions, miniatures, fifth players, and everything else in between. And again, on the campaign, I have no interest in this, but 11,000 people really did. And this was a lot. A colossal pledge for $200, royal pledge for $169, not insignificant amount of money for this game. And this is the type of game with a reprint like this, I think very similar to Castles of Burgundy. The Board Game Geek rating at this point, because it's been delivered, shouldn't surprise you. It shouldn't surprise you whatsoever when I pull it up here and you see it's got an 8.5, right? That should not be shocking because, the only people that are going to buy this are the people that are going to be in love with this game in the first place. So there is a huge amount of selection bias with these reprints or collector's editions of games. Now, assuming they have enough, people following it in the first place, because otherwise you won't have any effect on the rankings whatsoever, and they'll be skewed just from a sheer small number standpoint. But let's take that into consideration when we talk about how good this actually is, right? It's not that this is completely different and completely better than the original Castles of Mad King. It's that the only people of the Venn diagram that are going to get this are most likely going to be people that love it. Because if you're like me and you're looking at Castles of Burgundy, for example, right? Like, I'm not going to go in and buy $100 of Castles of Burgundy when I can pick up the 2019 version for $20 off the street and, get 3/4 of the game experience without all the, $130 price point, including shipping, whatever it may is around that. So you know what I'm saying, though. That's the question. Now, if you go over to Bezier's website, though, this is the interesting thing. This is very Queen-like. Royal Collector's Edition right here, $199. $199. That's the only one you can buy right now, at least when I'm looking at this right now. Let's see if we go back elsewhere and see if it comes up elsewhere. Okay, so this is $299. And then this expansion doesn't look like it's in print, and these are some of the extras. So $199, $299, folks. Let's pull up the page here. This is massive, right? That's probably the biggest take-home point of this one, is that Bezier and Queen are jacking up the prices if you don't get... they're not giving you different content, but you are paying FOMO price-wise, and not small amounts. This was $129, $129, $199, $70. This is $299. This is $169 and then $199. So that's $100 more. Holy cow. Are they losing that much money on these pledges? Are you just making that much more at retail? Like, that's crazy amounts to me. That's a crazy amount. That's not $20 difference that, you can swallow with, once the reviews come out and once the reviews are positive. That's massive. One last one here. Slipped under my radar, but we're going to talk about it anyway. This is Epic 7 Arise. Epic 7 Arise. This was based on a video game, Epic 7, and this was the latest implementation of it, I think, from Farside Games. And this is one of those that's based on an anime, based on a theme, but it only had like 2 preview videos on the actual campaign. And I ended up backing this for $1, and I said, okay. I got sucked in because, me, I love the theme. I love the Japanese games. I love anime. Like, I was just watching My Hero Academia season 4 before filming this. So, I'm in that, right? But I looked at it and I said, there is so much unknown about how this is going to play, what it's going to look like, and from this designer that I just can't. So it raised about 4.5 million Hong Kong dollars, Hong Kong currency, which is about $560,000, if you will. So again, that's not insignificant. They were doing this weird thing, though, with the stretch goals here, and we'll pull this up for a second, with some of the unlocks that you were getting or you couldn't get unless you did it during the campaign, and you're going to pay a bunch separate. It was still like $200, and the Dice Towers preview had a little bit of it. But here's some of the free stuff that you're going to get if you're going to get it all. Like, they definitely pledge locked stuff, which I was not a huge fan of either, not knowing how much this was going to be as well. Miniatures are cool. Miniatures are freaking awesome. Stretch goals, unlocks, all of that stuff. But, there was an unboxing, preview video, how to play in 5 minutes. That doesn't do me well. And that was it, right? And even now, when you go back up to the Board Game Geek page, like, there's been nothing in 2 years. Nothing. And that's okay. Look, there's me. Here's horrible me. Anyway, side note there. But that's the question of where does this stand now? And $200 later, is it going to be surpassed gameplay-wise? Again, pre-campaign, during the campaign, like, I was probably a 7. Like I said, dollar backed it, right? Backed out at the last minute. Did I upgrade my pledge? Not at all. This is a wait and see. Somebody will sell it on the secondary market for price if it's really good, and I can, be patient. But I just have this feeling it's going to be mediocre, and that scares me. I have enough mediocre on my shelf, and I have enough better than mediocre, good stuff on my shelf that doesn't get played. And so I don't need to take a gambit with something like this that I just can't tell. And the rule book was like half incomplete during the campaign too. So for me, it was an easy not upgrading the pass from that side of things. Now, if we go to the updates real quick at the end here, this is the one from December. It says there was a container loaded and it was going to be on the way to East Coast for their fulfillment partner. And then you go back to the updates here and it has a Happy New Year's one from the beginning of January. And again, they talk about, what 2023 is bringing, and they talk about the fact that they're still making some of the stuff here and the standees is going to be protected. And so it's just putting it all together. So I don't really know. These last two updates don't really give any update in terms of when you think it's going to be delivered. And so you have to go back actually to the beginning one here in December, and it says production of the English one is complete. So maybe in the next month or two, you're going to start seeing it for the North American. But that's kind of where things are at. So the updates here, actually you have to go back to the third to last update to get a product the fulfillment update. And this says everything's been loaded. The second to last one says that it shipped out in the end of December. And we're going to see it at some point, maybe in the next couple months. So expect this one maybe like, I'd say mid-March, April, maybe even. I'm not sure. I could see it going either way. If it takes about 4 to 6 weeks to get over here and it just left, I mean, it should be arriving sometime shortly, I would assume in the middle of this month. Then I'd say another 4 weeks to be delivered. So mid-March is kind of where that guess comes from. So we'll see. I could, see it rising on the hype because of being delivered soon. There you go. 2-year look back, folks. 2 years. So later this month, we'll do the February one. I have no clue what's on that list. I only knew of Primal and Darwin's journey from this, of the timing. So we'll see what else was 2 years ago, because that's a long time. And again, like some of those haven't even delivered. Some of those are in the process of delivering, and some of those are still ways off, which is 2 years out, right? That's why I tell people not to back some of these games at the highest level, because it's not that you don't have the disposable income, but do you want to tie up that much disposable income for that long? Food for thought. That's all I got. Stay classy. See you around. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Almost at 7K. Gonna do a big giveaway when I get there. Boom. Shakalaka.